Cool. So I see we have quite a few people in here. So we'll kick this off. If you're new here, my name is Justine. I am in product marketing here at UserGems. Before I was our product marketer, I was a customer success manager and I helped build the CS team. So I came from a world where I've implemented a lot of different customers, and as our product has continued to evolve, I've always really been at the forefront of our new products and features. So once a month, I pick a new product, a new feature, or just generally questions that we've been getting asked a lot, and I spend an entire session just going over them. So this month, we're going to be talking about one of our new features called workflows. And it's basically how you're going to be automating UserGems moving forward. So things like changing CRM fields, adding the UserGems to a sequence or a cadence, notifying reps via Slack or email, and I'll kind of go through like all the different scenarios. We'll do 2 workflows together. And then if you have any questions like moving forward about how to use workflows, you can always reach out to me or you can reach out to your CSM. But we're going to continue to talk about workflows, so it won't be the last time you'll hear about them. But first, we're going to talk about some new products and features. Specifically, I'm looking for some beta testers for one of our new features for Meeting Assistant. So Meeting Assistant right now, it's a free product. Some of you might already have it, but we've implemented a feature that we've actually been using internally now for a few months that will send you basically like automatic research before a call. So this would be really good for sales reps, just like individual contributing sales reps that have a lot of meetings specifically back to back that they might need to prep for. So it gives you things like company info, who's coming to the call, who are their competitors, like when's the last time they got funding, any types of like news that's been that they've been in just from Google. And we use our AI team for this. So basically what we're looking for is some people who are using Meeting Assistant and use Slack and might have a couple of sales team members that might be interested in just giving us some feedback about this product. That would be really great. It's not any additional cost. Really what we're looking for is just some really, really dedicated people to give some feedback. You will not hurt our feelings. So we are looking for some very honest feedback about this feature. So if you're interested or you're thinking of some sales reps that really like to test products, feel free to email me. I'm just Justine at UserGems, or you could also DM me on LinkedIn. But we are looking for just a few sales reps from different companies just to work with me and our engineer on this product. So really exciting to help with our development. But in terms of product updates, so I do have workflows here. We released workflows last month. We released it with our new hires and promotion signal. So our new hires and promotion signal runs on workflows. But moving forward, within the next month, all of our automations will run on workflows. So it's really good to start thinking about this now. The functionality really isn't changing. So like if you're using any UserGems automation currently, nothing's going away. If anything, it's just getting better. And there's nothing that you need to do to move it to workflow. So definitely don't feel like this is going to be a big task for you. But we're going to do the whole session on workflow, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I am going to do a refresher of our newest signal, new hires and promotion. And then also our AI team released an ICP generator. So I'll talk a little bit about that too. So our AI ICP generator, it's really, really awesome. So if you remember going through your onboarding with UserGems, we ask you for a lot of different information. And the reason we ask you for this information is because we want to make sure that the best gems are getting actioned. So we've asked you things like, who is your target accounts and who is your buyer persona? And maybe what was your ICP? So things like number of employees, industries, things like that. We've now gotten a little bit more advanced with the ICP. You can pick like, do you want B2B, B2C? Do you have any like very specific people that you sell to or companies? But I think the most interesting part of this new feature is that it will display what percent of your customers your ICP that you've given to us actually covers. And something that's great with this is it will show you if you pulled this ICP from something that you've already been using within your marketing or your sales teams. It might tell you what gap you actually are missing between who are you currently customers of yours today versus who might also be a really great target for you in the future that maybe you haven't considered yet. So what this does is first it'll tell you what percent of companies that this covers, and then it will automatically suggest additional industries, company sizes, regions that aren't currently in your ICP, and then we rank them then based on win rates. So you can apply all suggestions, you can like pick a few suggestions and add them, and then what you can do here is you can see what percentage of your customers your ICP will cover as you continue to apply suggestions. So this is readily available already. It's in your settings in your dashboard, in your admin settings. If you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to your CSM on this one. And then just a quick refresher, we launched last month our newest signal, new hires promotion. Actually, it was earlier this month. We launched our new hires and promotion signal. So if you're interested in this one, it is an additional signal in addition to champion tracking. If you have the product account tracking, this is actually covered in it. If you don't have account tracking, this would be a signal that would replace that. So basically what we're doing here is we're surfacing any new hires or new promotions that meet your buyer persona within your target accounts. So you would tell us still, like, we can use the same target accounts that you've given us for champion tracking. And then what we do here is we'll tell you exactly who has been joining those accounts in the last 3 months. And then from there, we can use the workflows to automate them into a sequence. And the really huge thing here is reps are doing this already. They're looking for people who are joining accounts as kind of like a buying event because they're hired with a budget. They're looking at their tools that they have existing, and they're looking to bring on new tools in a tech stack. And they're looking to solve a problem. At this point, if you're hiring somebody, you probably have a very clear job description of like what you are looking out of this person in their first 30, 60, 90 days. But getting to this person within their first 90 days is actually really hard. And automating this makes it so much easier. So what we're doing here is we're not only automating finding this person, adding them to their CRM, but then we're also automating adding them to a sequence, notifying the rep, changing any fields in your CRM, assigning them to the right owner. So it's really taking away all of these manual steps from teams, because what we're actually finding is that teams that are doing this already using their existing tools and just kind of manual steps or whatever workflows they're doing internally, they end up doing a data test with us and they're missing 50% or more of these people that are joining their target accounts. So it's really just trying to help make this play more scalable. We've been using it now for a few months internally. We have a couple customers that have gotten really good at using this signal and automating this signal. And it does end up creating a very similar amount of our pipeline as champion tracking. So it's really just an additional signal to use from UserGems. But what we're actually going to spend a lot of time today talking about is workflows. And what we're doing with workflows is really just end-to-end automation for new hires, new promotions, and also champion job changes. So think about your past buyers and your past users. Those will also be automated through workflows. So the things that you can do with workflows, you can do more advanced routing than you were able to before. So think things like setting up round robin rules, setting up different limitations, really custom routing. If you don't have that already, we can support it. With Salesforce, I should say specifically, this is a Salesforce specific product right now. If you have HubSpot, we can still help you do all of these things in HubSpot. It's just not through our workflows. We can do field updates. The most important thing though that these are doing, and things that we use it for internally, is automatically adding to a sequence. So we support Outreach and SalesLoft, and sending a notification. And the notifications can be through email or through Slack. We are a very Slack heavy company here. So you will see the way that we run our workflows, and I'll show you what active workflows we have before we build them. They all include Slack notifications, because our teams really like to know what's going into their sequences. And a lot of our first step is manual research steps. So we want to make sure that the reps know that they have tasks and outreach that they need to complete. So we're going to build two workflows together, and I'll show you what they are. But the first one is going to be a new hire joins one of your target accounts. And what I'm going to do is I want to add them to a sequence. And I want to send a Slack notification to that sales rep, letting them know that we have added them to a sequence so that they can go to outreach and complete their task. And then the second one that we're going to do is a past champion. So one of my old buyers, so just very traditional job change tracking, joins one of my target accounts. And I want to first update their relationship strength in their CRM. So that's a field called relationship strength. And then I also want to add them to a sequence. So I'm going to be doing a CRM task, and then I'm going to add them to a sequence. So let's dive in here. I will share my screen. All right. So these are actually our real existing workflows. Like, we use this product. I think we talk about that a lot at UserGems. Like, we actively use our signals and all of the mechanics that go with it. So you can see here we're running a few different workflows. We have a couple for new hires, a couple for promotions, and then you can see what workflow actions that we have assigned. We don't do any routing in ours, and that's just because we have lean data that does our routing. But if you wanted to set up any types of routing with this, you can, and I'll show you how to do that. But first, I'm going to show you two different ways to build a workflow, but all of our workflows start with an audience. And you can choose an audience just from pre-built ones that we have, or you can create your own. So I'm going to first create an audience from this page, and then I'll show you another way to create an audience and use existing ones. But the first workflow that we're building is a new hire. So right here, you're just going to click new hires. DRI is just the directly responsible individual. We're just going to do this for all accounts, but let's say you wanted to set up very specific workflows for different reps, you can do that here by using specific user, or you can say my user if you're owning any accounts. You can include recently contacted. So this just means that we've contacted them in the last 3 months, but most of the times if you're going to add them to a sequence, you don't want to include anyone that's just recently been contacted. So that's why we just have this checkbox available, so you don't have to think too hard about it. You can just click it on or off if you need it, but by default it's off. So we have a new hire. We want to do this for anyone joining our target accounts, but you can get really specific. So like, we're also doing this with our AE team. So with like acceleration plays for open opportunities, we're kind of testing that out. So if you wanted to split that into different sequences, which you probably would, you can do that here. You can get really granular, like if you have different target account lists that you've given us, you can select those, but for us, target just really captures all of them. And then we have different personas. So we have ABM and ABM Junior. ABM Junior is like sales reps. So we'll do like kind of a like a rep to rep play that you can do if that's maybe similar to your persona. But our ABM is actually like our real buyer persona. So we're going to stick with ABM here. But ABM Junior actually really does give us some great results. So if you have a very similar buyer persona to us, so like sales, marketing, doing like a junior play is actually quite interesting. So here, the last thing we have has email. So not all UserGems have emails, and that's because we have a really low bounce rate. So we try to keep our bounce rate below 5%. So if we are not confident within the email, we do not send it. However, I'm going to be adding this person to an outreach sequence, so I need them to have an email address. So we just make it really easy for you to select that. All right, so here's my audience. That was super simple. We're gonna save this audience, and we're gonna call it Dig Deeper New Hire Sequence, so I know how to delete this later. And we're gonna save it. So now I can use this audience in a workflow. So if I go to workflows, I'm going to add a workflow, and I can choose an existing audience. So this is the direction we're going this way, and then I'll show you the other way. I'm going to select my audience, and you can see everything's already pre-selected. So you can see my new hire, you can see my company, persona, and then has email. If I wanted to come in here and then edit it more, like I forgot something, you can add another filter, and then you can just override and save it. But we're going to call this Dig Deeper New Hires, just to remember. And then we're going to set actions. So this is where you can think about routing. So like if you needed to use this for routing, you can assign it to a specific person, or you can round robin it. But for this purpose, we're just going to remove it. This one, we are not going to update any CRM fields, but I will show you how to do that in the next one. It's just not really applicable here. But what we do want to do is we want to add it to a sequence. So I'm going to turn this on, and we have a sequence here for new hires. So I'm just going to search for that one. To be sequenced by, this is really going to depend on your UserGems setup. So during your onboarding and implementation, you had set up DRIs, so who's responsible for actioning the UserGems. For us, that's what we use. And that's just because our SDRs, who are actually the ones who are actioning them, are not the contact owner. So our contact owner is always the AE. So if I were to do this by the record owner, this would get sequenced by the AE, but we want it by the DRI. So if you have any questions there, just bump over to your settings and you can see who you have the DRI set up as, but more than likely you already have this set up and covered. And then we have just out of the box, send email or send a Slack message. They're pre-filled, but you can get really custom with them if you want to. Like I mentioned, we're super Slack heavy. So I'm going to send a Slack message to our reps, to the same person, to the DRI. But again, you can send it to like a specific user field on the record. So like, for example, like I mentioned, our ADRs have their own field. We can send it to the ADR. But it's just easier to send it to the DRI, because that is the ADR. But if you wanted to get really specific, you can. Or like, let's say you're a manager and you want to receive these, you can set it up so that you also get these, and you can send it to like whatever your field is that indicates you're a manager. So here we have a pre-filled, so like new signal, but you can get like there was a new hire added to the ABX new hire sequence in outreach. And then if you want to add any other fields here, you just press the $sign, and you can pull in different fields here from your CRM that will then go into the Slack message. But for this purpose, it really covers everything, like who is this person, what is their email, this is their LinkedIn, where are they, and then their title and role started. Yes, the recording will be emailed to you. And then after this, make sure that these are on, press save, and then you can see it's here. But we're not actually done with it yet. So we have the actions, but we want to tell you when this should actually run. So something to keep in mind here, and this is actually something I learned when I set up our own workflows, is that we have limitations in outreach that will not send an email outside of the hours of 10 and 4 Eastern, or 10 and 4 of the person receiving the email. So what I did was I had set the workflows to run daily at 9, but the task and outreach wouldn't actually appear until 10. So if you have any very similar rules in your sales engagement platform, maybe keep that in mind with these and set it to the same time. And then in limits, this is actually where it's really important. So you can limit the amount of people you're adding per account. So if you remember, this audience had like 4,000 people in it. And we probably, for our own sake of our Gmail domain, do not want to send 4,000 outbound emails from one rep or from whoever. So you can limit it per account. We limit it for 2 per month, just because we don't want to overwhelm like that company with the same email. So we'll limit it for 2 contacts per account. And then you can limit total contacts per day, per week, per month, or per owner. So like, let's say you don't want to overwhelm a specific rep, you can, give them only 5 per day, max. And I'm already getting yelled at. Cool. So that's the first one that we're creating. If I wanted to activate this, I would activate this now. I can activate it because it's not set to run until tomorrow, so it's not going to break anything. However, what your CSM can do for you as well is it can force run it for you. And we can actually even test it by like sending it to myself. So all of this would get sent to me. I can test the Slack message. I can test the outreach sequence. If I have outreach, the person still needs to have an outreach license. And you can see how many people are actually pending. But if you remember, we set the limits, so all 4,000 people would not get emailed. But you can also limit it to test a specific amount of people too. That's the first workflow. I'm going to show you the second way to set up a workflow. So adding a workflow just directly from this screen. So what you can do here is you can select an existing audience. So like you don't always have to start from scratch. You can start use an existing audience and then also edit it. But for this one, we are going to do this for a champion job changer joins a target account. So I'm actually going to just create a workflow from here. So champion joins target account. I'm going to label this again, let's dig deeper. And the signal that I want to use, so remember last time we used new hires, this one I'm going to go under job changes. So if you select this, it'll select all of them, but I specifically just want champions. We treat champions and influencers differently. They have two different outreach sequences, so they have to be two separate audiences. Same thing here, DRI, all accounts. We're not setting this up like specifically for one user. Again, with the activity, we don't want to include anyone that was recently contacted. They have to join a target account. We don't care about the company list. We do care about the persona. We want them to be our ABM persona and not our junior persona. They don't need to be from specific accounts. We do, however, want to limit it based on closed won. So these are our buyers. But let's say that I also want champions. So the way we define champions, and it's in your settings, so it's the same way. It's just when our CSMs define a key stakeholder in an account, they mark them as a champion. And we pull that also into our tracking list. So the same onboarding and implementation steps that you all did. And then from here, we again, adding them to a sequence. So we want them to have an email. I'm going to add one more filter to this one. So if you wanted to add an additional filter, one that we use here in ours is seniority. So we have different sequences for like VP and CXOs than like someone who's like a manager. And the reason is because there's a gifting step as the first step. And one of them is more manual of a sequence than the other. So for this one, let's actually just do a director and above to make sure that they're all in the right audience. So what you'll notice here, and I'll save this, it's going to, after I add an action, ask me to name the audience. So we'll do it all on this one page instead of having to go build the audience and then come build the workflow. So for this one, I'm not going to set up the routing, but I am going to want to update a CRM field. So if you remember, I wanted to update the field called relationship strength. And that is actually on the contact level. So I'm going to search for that here after clicking contact. This is a custom field for us. We're going to always put it as a static field, and we want it to put high. So think of it like if you have a field that you always want your UserGems to write into to help you with other campaigns or different types of reporting, you can always add fields to update in this workflow before anything else gets triggered. And then we're also going to add this person to a sequence. We have our UG for UG sequences. They're very similar to the ones on our website if you're interested. But this is a past closed one op on an ICP account. Same thing here. So we want the DRI to sequences, but you can also do it as like an account owner field as the ADR. This is the same thing for us. So just depending on how you want to think about this, we can leave it here for now. And then I didn't have anything to notify them, but you can always just very easy send the Slack message to the DRI or to a Slack channel if you have one. So you can send it to a specific Slack channel as long as it's public and as long as your Slack is integrated with us. Same thing with the schedule. So I have all of these to go off at daily at 10. But if you want like a use on like your user gems day or something like that, you can. That would probably make the most sense specifically for the signal. So ours is on the first. And then in terms of limits, this is again up to you. For the past champion job changers, the volume's usually not super high. And usually we'd want to action them like immediately. So we wouldn't set any limits here with this one. I'm unfortunately hitting an error. As you can see, this is real life. There we go. Cool. So basically what happened here is now I've saved this, and it should also save as its own new audience too. So you can see like I didn't have to create an audience and save it. After I saved the workflow, it automatically created a second audience here for me. And then I can use that audience for different workflows if I need to. So that's on creating workflows. The other things that we've been doing with this is notifying our CSMs when a champion leaves. So you can see that's this one. And also when a new director plus hired joins a customer account. This one's actually pretty interesting. We've been testing this one, and basically what it's saying is like, you've had a new decision maker join your customer account, or someone was recently promoted, reach out and say congratulations and try to get them involved in UserGems. Like, do they want to know what's going on, how it affects their role? And this is really just like an opportunity to both multi-thread for our customer success team, but also to prevent churn. So sometimes if a new hire is joining the account, it might indicate that they are looking to shake things up, maybe not in a good way. So we want to make sure that our CSM team always knows that people are joining the accounts as well. That's another great thing that we've been using with the new hire signal. So it's not really just for our sales teams to generate new business, but it's also for our CS team to help with churn. I realized we were at time, so I'm going to stop sharing. That was actually, we covered both the workflows, but I am available still to stay on and answer any questions if anyone has any. I know Amber also has a question in the chat in terms of what other topics you want to see. If we get all of the user gems on the 15th, would they all trigger on one day? Yeah, so this is a really good question, Christy. So the workflows isn't the thing that's sending to your CRM. It's just basically doing all of the action items. So if you needed different fields reassigned, or if you wanted to add to a sequence, or if you wanted to notify the rep, it's not adding to your CRM every day or anything like that. Your user gems day is still your user gems day, and that's separate from workflows. But something you might want to consider is setting up the workflows to always run on your user gems day or the day after. Yeah, let us know any other topics you want to cover. For the rest of the quarter, we're doing user gems for churn and user gems for ABM. Those are our May and June topics. We have a guest speaker for both of those. So Isaac from our head of demand gen will be talking about how we use user gems for ABM, ads, things like that, paid social, audiences, etc. And then Steven from our CS team is going to join us and talk about how we use user gems with Catalyst. And you can use it with any type of CS tool that you have in order how we trigger our plays for churn prevention and expansion. So if you have Catalyst, or if you have a Gainsight, or if you have Churn Zero, or like something very similar to that, or you just have a CS team, you can also invite them and join that session. But thanks, everyone. If you have any questions about workflows, reach out to me. If you want to be in the beta, reach out to me. Otherwise, we'll see you next month. Thanks for joining.